I'd like to start by introducing Mussy Shore. Mussy is the product manager for Google Friend Connect, flew out from Cambridge to be with us tonight. And thank you, Mussy. Pleasure to hand it off.
Thanks a lot. So as David said, Friend Connect is for website owners. And what I'm going to do is take some time to, from the perspective of a site owner, use Friend Connect to take a site that wasn't so social and make it a whole lot more social. So to do that, I'm going to do a little bit of role playing. I won't do complete costume and makeup changes, but I will take us through a few personalities. The first personality is Annie. Annie, the site owner. Now, Annie has a terrific site. And the site's called Love the Guacamole. She's passionate about guacamole. Every day she puts up a guac recipe. Tons of visitors come and look at the guac recipe. But it's not all that Annie would like. She would really like to add some social features to this site because guacamole is a social food. She knows people are here. She just can't see them, right? And she knows they wouldn't mind reviewing the recipes. She knows they're going to parties, and there's probably some interesting guacamole moments that need to be captured amongst each other. And so she wants to get on with that. So Annie goes to Google Friend Connect. And she reads that, indeed, she doesn't have to have deep coding capabilities, in fact, any coding capabilities, to add social features to her website. She decides to set up her site. She gives her site's name, Love the Guacamole. And she puts in its URL. And she saves this information. Now, the next step for Annie is, if she was prudent, she would do some testing. But she's not. She's into guacamole. So she's going to get on with the show. All right. So there's a directory that she sees of social gadgets. And the social gadgets, some of them are provided by Google, and some of them are provided by the open social community. But we're going to start with a couple of key gadgets that start to make the site come alive. I'm going to go through 3 of these. So there's going to be a bit of cutting and pasting. But it'll happen soon enough. All right? So the first one she sees is this thing called a members gadget. And this is the gadget that's the core gadget that allows folks to join her site, all right, and handle everything associated with that. So she clicks on that, and she does some skinning, sets its height. She's got a color scheme in mind. Guess what? It's green. And she clicks the Generate Code button. And there, the member gadget has been created for her. She pops it on her clipboard. Now, Annie uses Dreamweaver to manage her website. So she goes over to her web page. It's not a complex web page at all. It's just static. And she pastes in the script and the little bit of skinning information. She just pastes it there. She doesn't really know what it is, to tell you the truth. But that's a start. So she saves that. She goes back to Friend Connect. And the next thing she'd like to do is she'd like folks to be able to review the recipes that come up every day. And she wants it to be a high-quality guacamole discussion. And so here she sees a review and rate gadget. And she chooses that. And it's not a very different drill at all for her. She sets the height again. She sticks with that ugly green color. And she generates the code. And she puts that on her clipboard. Back to Dreamweaver. Now, fortunately for you, she's not going to do 43 different gadgets. She's going to do one more. She said earlier she'd like pictures coming in and out into the community. So she goes back into the gallery, although this time Google hasn't made a picture gadget. There's gadgets made by others. And there's a magical one here that we like a lot because it allows us to work with our partners. It's called this thing called a custom gadget. And in that, she provides a gadget URL. This is the URL of an open social application. I have not memorized that URL. So being slightly prepared, I made it available here. She puts the URL in. Guess what? She generates the code, puts it on her clipboard, comes back to her site, and this was her last location here. She's got a little spot for the picture social functionality. She saves this, and she FTPs it back to her website. Up it goes. OK, Annie's done her job. So now let's switch gears for a second. Put Dreamweaver away. Put Annie's environment away. Let's visit somebody else. Let's visit a visitor. Visit a visitor of the site. OK, here's this guy, Mussy. They say it's dangerous to talk about yourself in the third person. I'm Mussy. And I happen to be a guacamole lover. All right? And I have visited Annie's site before. So I take a peek at it again. This is what it always used to look like to me. Recipe, I liked it. But now when I refresh, things are a little bit different. All right? We see a membership thing on the top where I can sign in. I can see the ability, let me roll this again. I'll try it one more time. It's perhaps oh, there we go. Thank you, God of Demos. Right? Yeah. But I'm not through it yet. So there Annie is, and so I'm here, and I'm intrigued. I would like to add a review of this particular guacamole recipe. So I sign in. Now, the first thing you notice is that when I go to sign in, I'm not having to create a new account. If you look over here, there's a whole bunch of services that I can sign in through. I can sign in with a Google account, a Yahoo account, the AIM user. I can sign in with my screen name. And I think you all recognize that these guys on the bottom here are OpenID providers, of which there are many more. Okay? But I am, in fact, a Googler. I am going to sign in with my Google account. Now, next up, what you'll notice is there's options for me. I'm seeing that I can link in some of my friends from other social networks. Now, I hadn't cleaned this totally out, but what you'll see here, for example, there's a Facebook option here, Orkut, Talk, High Five. There'll be others coming. And I am a Facebook user. I choose to link in my Facebook friends. And I'm taken to Facebook's login screen where I pass in my credentials. And so now Facebook is linked in. Now that's kind of a decision that I make. And then the next thing I notice is that there's some things I can do specific to this site. All right? One of the most interesting ones is the ability to publish activities that I'm doing on this site back to my social networks. You'll notice that by default it's off, but I can choose to opt in, and I do so. I do that, and I save. OK, so now I'm recognized. And there are some people starting to appear. Now, there aren't tons of people yet. We started from scratch, but we'll get there. All right? And if I click, for example, invite my friends, straight off the bat, you'll see I have a lot of people to choose from, some of my Talk friends, some of my Facebook friends, some of my orchid friends. You know, so I might ping David. I think he's a guac lover. Maybe Dan. I send invitations off to them. Those will show up in the social network as a notification. It would bring them back to the site. So that gives you a sense of how the ball can start rolling. Right? And then also, I want to pipe in. This is actually an excellent, excellent recipe. And it is the best guac ever. All right? And I post that. Oh, I misspelled guac. Look, this is my first posting in a public situation. I'm going to get it straight. All right? So there's my posting, but it's not an anonymous posting. There's identity that's starting to happen on this site right now. All right? And then I also did happen to be at a party, and I do have some interesting guac pictures that I'd like to share with the guacamole community. Here's one. You know, your basic go to a guacamole cost thing. It didn't work. We were supposed to airdrop guacamole into your laps. Damn. All right. So I choose that. So that's been uploaded. And now we can see one picture's been added. I had another fantastic thing. I got this dog, Zippy, that's totally out of his mind. He's a Jack Russell Terrier. And he gets a little over-involved at these parties. I'm going to upload that one. And here's another one. Now, this particular thing that I'm working right now wasn't written by Google. It was written by Site Photos. It's an open social application. All right, so this thing is looking pretty good. Now, the deal is that I've done a lot of stuff here. I've invited a couple of friends. I've made a posting, et cetera. But I don't know all my friends who are into guacamole. I got a bunch of them. So the question is, how could others find out about it? So I'm going to shift gears one more time. I got a friend in Brazil, Cindy Coltrane. And we're going to shift gears. I'm going to put this guy away for a second. I'm going to put him down. And here's Cindy Coltrane. Now, Cindy's in Brazil. She's using Orchid as her social network. All right? And she brings this up. And lo and behold, if you take a look at the update here, all right, you'll see that there's a new update that just appeared. Well, why did it appear? Well, what happened was when I was doing my bit on that site, I had opted into the activity stream, so things that I was doing were getting broadcast back to the social network. But it wasn't just one social network. It could get broadcast to any social networks, so anybody could find out about it. And in this case, Cindy, she indeed sees this thing, best guac ever. She loves guacamole, so she's totally there. She's going to click on that thing, all right? Back she comes, all right? Things load up. Now, things are a little bit different for Cindy. Cindy has been at other friend-connected sites. So when she goes to join, it's not this whole business of linking in each network, filling out your credentials again, et cetera. She just accepts. She does get to say what her privacy posture will be with that particular site. And in this case, you know, Cindy's a partier. She wants to publish her activities too, and she saves. Cindy adds her post too, and Cindy notices the real deal. And I will tell you, this is the best margarita recipe ever. And so Cindy says, sure. No, that's 5 stars because of the Cointreau. And she says, no, it's the margaritas. And she can barely spell it at this time of night. And she posts, okay? So let's come back around to Annie Moby, because a lot has happened for Annie, the site owner. We'll bring her back up, all right? So let's shift gears, keep our personalities straight. It's mostly for me as opposed to you, all right? And let's see where we've gotten to. So I don't know, we've been at this about 13 minutes. They're going to try one more flyover with a drop, so hold tight. He's circling. Okay. Now, does anybody have a crying baby? That's the next trick, right? Okay. So, all right. So let's see where we are with Annie. Okay. She looks at her Manage Members section, and suddenly Annie, who did not know how to write code, she has members. And the members could have come from the hundreds of millions of OpenID accounts that are out there today. All right. Cindy and Mussy have jumped on board. She looks at her reports. She sees huge spike, tremendous spike. Unbelievable. If there are any VCs out in the crowd, you might want to check in because this thing's going straight through the roof. Membership's up, new members over time, and that's looking good too. All right. So let's kind of summarize for a second. If I could get the next slide here, I could click this. All right. So let's see what we've done. 3 personalities. Annie, what did she get? Annie got activity with no coding whatsoever, social activity, social features. She got viral growth. I joined, my friend joined, and I didn't even know to visit that friend. And she got a boatload of functionality that she didn't have a prayer in heck of coding up. No way that would have happened. All right? What did I get? Well, I used to go to this site, and it was OK. There was good information. But now my passion for guacamole is fulfilled. I am engaging. All right? I'm doing reviews. I'm posting pictures. I'm seeing other people who are in the guacamole community. Right? And what did Cindy get? Well, Cindy didn't have a prayer of finding either that guacamole recipe or, worse, the margarita recipe. And she was able to discover it because of a nice ecosystem where people are doing things at sites that are social, people are at their social networks being social, and the circle is being completed. So what I'd like to do right now is I'd like to focus back on the functionality. Because once you have sites in all different types of contexts, all types of hobbies, functions, needs, philanthropy, becoming social, the opportunities for the application developer come entirely different in terms of the types of social functions that can be built. And so what I'd like to do is I'd like to invite Nat and Jenny up to talk a little bit about what those possibilities look like. Thanks.